Hi everybody, and welcome to lesson 11 in our series on using Google Docs. In this lesson, we're going to practice inserting and updating a table of contents into a document, as well as looking how to include footnotes and bookmarks in our documents. We'll also be creating hyperlinks, as well as publishing and sharing our document for others to read and collaborate with us on. And finally, we'll be looking at how to review and track the changes made and the comments inserted into documents as we collaborate with other people. Right, so we've got quite a lot to tackle in this lesson. Let's get started. So the document that I've loaded for today's lesson is actually a real live document that Mindset produced, which is a functional specification for the redevelopment of the Learn website. And as I scroll through it, you might be able to see, if you're really paying attention, that this document is actually based on the document template that we put together in the last lesson. You'll also notice that this document contains many of the features and functions that we've been going through in the previous lessons in this series. For example, we've inserted pictures, we've inserted bulleted and numbered lists, etc., etc. So this document represents kind of the culmination of all of our work together. But there are a couple more things that I need to show you before you can call yourself a Google Doc expert. And one of those is inserting a table of contents. Now I want to insert the table of contents on its own page. So the first thing I'm going to do is insert a page break here just before the document purpose paragraph so that I can move this to the next page. We should know how to do that by now. Insert page break. And now we can see that there is this blank page between the cover page and the rest of the document. So I'm just going to insert my cursor where I want the table of contents to be inserted. And again, simply from the Insert menu, right down here at the bottom, Table of Contents. And very simply, what that does is it looks through all of the headings in the document and it produces a table of contents of those heading sections. So you can see this table of contents actually spans over 2 pages, and all of these are links to that part of the document. Just while we're here, while you've got the table of contents selected, you can see that there is the refresh arrow, which will update the table of contents. So as you make additions or modifications to your document, you simply need to come back and click on that arrow to update and relist this table of contents. Finally, if you right-click on the table of contents, down here at the bottom, you can delete the table of contents at any time. By the way, here's another menu item to update the table of contents. So that was pretty simple. The second thing, though, that I want to show you is how to insert a footnote, which is really just a link to some additional explanatory text that gets placed in the bottom of the document. And I want to insert a footnote for this line here about the digital asset management system. Once again, from the Insert menu, you can find Footnote. And it does 2 things. First thing it does is it puts a little superscript 1 where your cursor was, and then it creates this footnote section on the page where I can now enter text that is the footnote. So in this case, the footnote is about Intermedia, a software system that we're using. You can create many more footnotes, and the neat feature about this is if I were to add a footnote above this previous footnote, you can see that it will automatically renumber all the footnotes so that they always follow in numerical or chronological sequence. So that's my new footnote there. But I don't want that footnote, so I'm going to just undo that step. Now obviously, this being Google Docs coming from Google the company, it lives on the internet. And so inserting links, hyperlinks to other documents is a core function of Google Docs. Let me show you how to do that. It is really, really simple. I would like to insert a hyperlink to the Intermedia website from this word here, Intermedia. So my first step is to select the word Intermedia. And from the Insert menu, click on Link. The text of the link is going to be Intermedia. that is the text that I selected, but the document or the website that I wanted to link to is www.intermediasoftware.com. And you can see that as you type, oops, I spelled that incorrectly, but as you type in your link, Google automatically does a Google search for documents on the internet that match that. So this is the one that I would like to use, and I'm going to apply that. Now you can see that it looks like a hyperlink, like any other hyperlink on the internet does, and when I click that, I get some options. I can either follow the link to the Intermedia website, I can change the link, which will bring this menu up again, or right-click, I can remove the link. So as you can see, entering links to other websites or other documents is really quite simple. But let's now look at how we can create links to different places within the same document. And what we need to do is work with bookmarks. So in this case, I would like to create a link between this section of my document, the pre-login, and this section down here at the bottom, which talks in a lot more detail about the login section of the website. Now the first thing I need to do is I need to make this heading here, or it could be this text over here, it doesn't really matter, any text within the document, I need to make that a bookmark. So the first thing I'm going to do is insert bookmark, which is all the way down here at the bottom, and I want this to become a link. So as soon as I do that, you can see it gets this little symbol next to it, which indicates that this part of the document is now a bookmark. So this is the link that I want to link to. Now we're going to insert the link that I want to link from. And it's all the way up here in the pre-login section. And I would like to make this a link to the bookmark that I've just created. Now to do this is exactly the same thing as inserting a normal link, except in this case, I am going to select from the bookmark section all the bookmarks that I've inserted. Now currently I've only inserted the one bookmark, which we've just done now, called login. So I'm going to select that and apply that. Now what that means is when I click on this link and I follow it, it's going to automatically link me down here to the login section. Now that can be a really handy feature if you've got a long document and you don't want the readers or the users of that document to have to scroll around. You can create lots of bookmarks and then link to those bookmarks. And if you think about it, the table of contents that we entered is really just that. It's a link of bookmarks. So every time you create text and you apply a heading style, what you're actually doing in the background is creating another bookmark in your document that you're able to link to. So we spent all this time making a wonderful document, but it will be even better if we can share this document and get comments and collaboration from the people that we work and learn with. Now in this case, I'm going to share this document with the producer of this show, whose name is James. We've done this before, but just to remind you, let's start that again. The big blue button at the top of the document, click on that, and up will pop the Share Settings dialog box. Simply type the email address of the person you'd like to share this document with. Remember, you can add in a message, an email message, and notify them via email that you have shared this document. And here you can change what edit rights the person has. I want James to have edit rights, so I'm going to click Share and Save. And Google has now shared this document with him, so he can now collaborate with me on it. But there is another way that you can share your Google Docs with the wider world. Not necessarily to allow people to collaborate with you, but so that they can at least read what you've done. And that is a function called Publish. And it works like this. From the File menu, if you go down here to Publish to the web, you can make this document available to anybody really with an internet connection. Let's go through some of those steps. So click on Publish to the Web, and you'll get this setting here. Currently, we don't require people to have their Mindset Network account to be able to view and to view this document, which means that anybody with the link to the document can view it. The other setting here is to automatically republish when changes are made. So that means if I update this document, even just adding in one sentence, it'll automatically republish my changes to the web version. All that I need to do to start publishing this document to the internet is to click on Start Publishing. I'm going to confirm that by saying OK. And this document is now available to the World Wide Web. But there are a couple of other things here that we need to pay attention to. The first is the document link. This text here is the link to the document on the World Wide Web. So if you wanted to share this document with somebody, or you wanted to put the document on your website or your blog, that would be the link that you would need to include. Now, unfortunately, we don't have time and scope to look at things like embedding and iframes. But if you do know about that stuff, this can be a really handy feature to embed Google Docs in your wider website or blog. But for the time being, let's turn publishing off. Let me show you how to do that. To turn publishing off, all that you need to do is click the Stop Publishing button in the Publish to Web dialog box. So if we had published this to the internet, we'd simply go back to File, Publish to the Web, and Stop Publishing, and confirm that we want to stop publishing, and suddenly this document is no longer available on the World Wide Web. Now, I shared this document with the producer, James. Let's see if he's been able to add a comment to our document that we can respond to. Well, firstly, we can see that James is viewing the document at the same time as we are, because this little icon here tells us so. But the other thing, just to quickly notice, my resolution, there isn't much space on the left or the right-hand side of the document. So if I were to scroll up, it might at first glance look like that James hasn't included any comments. But the comments are always included on the right-hand side of the document. And we can see that this portion of text here is highlighted in kind of that mustardy yellow comment. That color, that indicates a comment. But you might say, well, where is the comment? Well, and all that I need to do is I need to scroll over to the right-hand side, and I only need to do that because my display is the resolution on my display is a little bit small. So as I move over, I click onto that highlighted text, James's comment comes in to focus. And you can say, will the new identity be ready in time? That's a good question. So I'm going to reply to him by simply clicking in that box that says reply to this comment. Well, I am not sure. We might need to delay the launch. And I'm going to reply to James's comment. So now we can see there was James's original comment and there was my reply. Just while James is replying to our reply, just have a look here that I've got some additional functionality here in my comment here. I can edit my comment at any time, and I can delete my comment. So you might have said something silly, or you might have commented something that is no longer relevant. You can always go back into your document and delete those comments. So let's see if James has been able to reply to my reply yet. We can see here that James has replied to our reply. So what is possible here is we can have an entire thread of conversation about the mindset corporate identity. And several people can comment on that, and so we can have a thread of several people all commenting on the same thing. Once this comment, though, has been dealt with and resolved, we can remove it by clicking on the Resolve button at the top, and that comment will disappear. But just to note, if at any stage you want to see all the previous comments, you can just click on the Comments button, and you can see all of the previous comments that were made in this document, as well as whether that comment has been resolved or not. And if for some reason something changes, you can always reopen a resolved comment. Now, in a previous lesson, we did also look at the inline chat function that was available in Google Docs. Let me just remind you about that functionality here. while somebody is in the document with you at the same time, if you click on the Show Chat button here, you can get real-time chat going inside this document. So let's see if James responds to that. Oh, I can see that James is actually adding to the document while we're busy talking to you here. We can see exactly what James is typing. Move the website to the new server. Okay, that's a good point, James. We might need to do that. But James can also comment or reply to a thread that I've started in the chat section over here. Now that James has added in that new comment, we might want to start seeing who else has edited this document from time to time. Now, in Microsoft Word, that feature is called Track Changes. Google Documents does it a little bit differently. We can see all of the previous versions of a document and we can track changes that way. Let me show you what I mean. Oh, look, James has replied to my initial chat. Well, that's very sweet of him. But now let's look at the versioning of this document. Underneath the File menu, you can see the revision history. And as I open that up, one important thing happens. The document becomes read-only. Now I can scroll through this document and I can see all of the revisions that have been made. So this revision that's currently highlighted today at 2 minutes past 1, James made that change. You can see that James is next to this little red block, and you can see that it highlights in red the change that James made. So that is the way that we can track other people's changes to this document. If I don't like the change that James has made, I can look at the previous version of the document. And if we scroll down to that, we can see that point 5 isn't here. So at any stage, I can restore that previous version. And what that does is it will remove all the previous additions or changes that were made to this document. If the granularity of what's being shown here isn't fine enough, we can show more detailed revisions. And really, every time that Google Docs automatically saves your document, it is adding another revision to the history. So you can go back to the very, very beginning of a document and you can see all of the changes that have been made throughout the life of that document. And at any stage, you can always restore a previous version of a document. So you've got real fine-grained control. Well, that brings us to the end of our series on using Google Docs. I hope that you've got enough information that you can start using Google Docs to boost your own productivity, whether you're at work or at school, whether you're a learner or a teacher. And I hope that you will join us next time for a series when we start to look at how to use Google Sheets and how to use Google Presentation. But until then, bye-bye.